Grading beam or grading bucket, what level are you on? Hello, I'm Terry. I'm a key account manager here at Rhinox. I've worked in the construction industry for over 20 years and my role is to help customers achieve efficiency with their buckets and attachments.
Hello, I'm Will and I'm the Sales Director here at Rhinox Group, and I help the sales team here deliver the best products and services for the industry. In this video we're going to explain about the Rhinox Grading Beam, where it might be used and some of the key features and benefits.
Will, what is a grading beam?
A grading beam is a wide flat bottomed attachment that's used for profiling and levelling type 1 and 2 aggregate, where you want to get a consistent approach to the whole task that you have in hand, so it's consistently level throughout the whole task. Could you maybe point out some of the key applications that you might use one of these in?
Good question, yeah. You would typically use a grading beam when you've got like a large area to grade out. So for instance, like your garden, topsoil across your garden, a footpath, driveway, anywhere really when you've got a large area to grade out and you want a nice, even, consistent flat surface.
That's great.
And what would some of the key features on the Rhinox grading beam be?
Well, it's got a number of key features, but I suppose the first one you can see right here, where you've got the funneled leading edge that helps bring in some of the aggregates when you're actually moving through the task that you've got in hand. And then you've got this double-edged lip plate, so you've got a lip plate at the front here that helps bring a nice flush finish, and you've got that on the reverse side of the attachment too, so that you can grade in both directions. You've also got this removable headstock top. That means it can be used for both 1.5 and 3 ton excavators. Particularly good for a higher application where you might want to switch between a number of different machines without buying a whole new attachment. You've also got wear plates on both sides. Right at the front here, that means that you get additional life out of the product. Secondly, you've got the Rhinox badge on the side. That actually doubles up as a wear protection as well.
Excellent. And I noticed you've got the gussets as well, which makes it nice and rigid and good sturdy bit of kit, I'd say.
Key question that comes up in relation to a grading beam is, where would you use a grading beam over and above an actual standard grading bucket that tends to come as standard with most machines that you hire or purchase?
That's a good question, very good question, because a grading beam is a relatively new product, you might say. So someone might have always consistently used a grading bucket, so they're happy and feel more comfortable using a grading bucket. Whereas I can understand why you'd want to use a grading bucket over a grading beam, especially if you're shifting some of the load. You can't really shift, as in pick stuff up and move it with a grading beam, but with a grading beam you can drag a lot of the product with you, which gives you a much more consistent level basis. I guess it's down to the operator's choice really, but I think that a grading beam is more beneficial to the end finish if you're not having to shift the material.
I suppose one of the other key things is with the grading beam you can actually get it wider for most excavators than you can the standard grading bucket. So the 1.2 that we've got in front of us now on a 1.5 ton is normally wider than the standard grading bucket, and again we do a 1.5 version from Rhinox, and that can be used on a 2 to 3 ton, and again that would normally be wider than you get with your standard grading bucket. So again, I suppose a quicker and easier tool to use when you've got a large area.
That's a very valid point. And also, when you're using a grading bucket, quite often you'll be using the base, so you tend to wear it out a bit. Whereas this is obviously built as a heavy-duty construction to cope with that kind of work. So I think a grading beam really is probably your best option, but again, it's down to the operator's choice, I think.
That's really interesting. Terry, could you explain a little bit how you'd actually use a grading beam when you had it attached to the digger?
Good question, yeah. So traditionally what you're trying to do is get a nice flat level surface, so you'd have the grading beam flat and you'd pull it towards you, sort of grading the material as you pull it towards you, and then you'd also do the same in reverse. So the whole idea is to try and keep it flat. If you tip it, you tend to start digging into the ground basically, so it takes away from the feature of trying to get a flat surface. So yeah, it's just a case of pulling it, keeping it level, flat, pulling it and pushing it. What sizes is this available in, and typically what sort of price range are we talking about?
Well, it's available in two different widths, so 1200 and 1500 wide, and this can then have a headstock manufactured for any machine from a 0.75 through to 4-ton excavator. And typically at the point of filming, the prices would be £650 for a 1200 wide, which is what we've got in front of us here, and £700 for a 1500 wide.
Excellent, brilliant. Well, a key question we often get asked is, can this be used on a micro machine?
That's a very good question. There's a couple of factors you need to consider when you're using this on a micro machine. It can be designed, a headstock can be designed to make it work on a micro machine, but it is really down to operator's discretion, because it is a large, reasonably heavy attachment for that size machine, and if not used by a competent driver, could actually cause damage to the machine. So I would put it down to, does the driver feel that they are able to use this attachment with the size of machine that they're actually driving?
Yeah, so operator's discretion, isn't it?
Yeah. Another key question that comes up is, can I have a bolt-on cutting edge on the attachment? Could you maybe cover off why we don't currently fit one on our grading beam?
That's a really good question. Yeah, well, no is the answer, and simply because obviously it would add too much weight to the product. It's already quite a heavy duty construction anyway, so it's built to do the task in hand, and obviously it would have to go right across the bottom, and I suppose the key thing really is it would add a lot of weight to it, so no, it's not really advantageous to the product.
Thank you for watching our video on the Rhinox Grading Beam. Click here for other inspirational material from Rhinox and follow us on our social channels below.
Thank you for watching. Click here for other material. Click here to